Good afternoon, boys and girls. Today is Monday, April 6th, and I am here to do the third grade read aloud of Superfudge. If you haven't been with us, that's okay. I'll quickly review what we've learned so far. This story is a realistic fiction, which means it really can happen, but it's made up. The characters are made up, and the story is made up. It's also a humorous fiction, I'd say, too, because it's silly and it's funny. And what makes it funny? But this boy, Fudge. Fudge is an extremely silly, funny character. He can be extremely annoying to his big brother, Peter. Okay? And they just had another baby in the family. His mom just had a baby. Her name, they call her Tootsie. Okay, so besides having a new baby in the family, they're also moving. They're moving to more of a neighborhood. They're getting out of the city and they're going to try living in the neighborhood. So let's see. We left off with them leaving. They're just leaving for their new neighborhood. And remember, they're only moving for a year to see if they like it. So here they go. Chapter 5. And this is a bit of a these chapters are kind of long, so I think I'm going to divide them in half. So we'll start chapter 5 today and we'll finish it tomorrow. Small ones are sweeter. Our house, that is Millie and George's house, is so old that the bathtub stands off the floor on legs. And the hot and cold water don't come out of the same faucet. So when you're washing your hands, you either freeze them or burn them. Mom said you're supposed to put the plug in the sink and mix the water in the basin. But that's a lot of trouble. At least we don't have chamber pots. The toilet's actually flush. Outside, the house is painted yellow and the shutters are white. The windows and doorways are slightly crooked. Dad said that's part of the charm of the house. I know better than to tell him what I think. Inside, the floors are wooden and they creak when you walk across them. Sounds like Peter. We know he doesn't want to move. He's not liking the house too much. Downstairs is a living room with a piano, a dining room with a table so big you have to shout to make yourself heard, a kitchen with pots and pans hanging all over the place, and a library where the walls are lined with books, arranged according to color. There's a brown leather section, a green leather section, a red leather section, and a tan leather section. Upstairs there are 4 bedrooms, all in a row, and everywhere you look, there are fireplaces. There's one in every bedroom. There's one in the living room, another in the dining room, and still another in the library. There aren't any in the bathrooms or the kitchen. Wow, I think it sounds like a lovely house. I would love to live in that house. But Peter seems that even though it could be the best looking house ever, he still wouldn't be happy because he just doesn't want to move. My mother and father call the house fantastic, fabulous, unbelievable. I hear them talking to their friends on the phone, and those are the dumb words they use to describe this place. Our neighborhood is a lot like our house. Old. Every house on the block is a lot like this one, with a small front yard and a big backyard. In our backyard, we have George's rose garden and Millie's herb and vegetable garden. The first day we were here, Dad bought a stack of books with titles like Know Your Roses, Know Your Herbs, Organic Vegetables and You, and my favorite, The Agony of Beetles in Your Garden. You don't have to worry about beetles in New York, did you, Dad? I said at dinner. That's enough, Peter, Dad said to me. That's enough, Peter, Fudge repeated. Cut that out, I told him. Cut that out, he said back to me. Fudge's new game is repeating everything I say. He's really driving me crazy this time. Pass the salt, please, I said to Mom. Pass the salt, please, he said, laughing. I pushed back my chair. I can't take it anymore. I mean it. Do something, will you? I begged my parents. But he was already at it. I can't take it anymore. Do something, will you? And he laughed so hard he choked. Dad turned him upside down and whacked him on the back. I want you to stop doing that, Fudge, he said. Do you understand? I don't know why my parents are always asking him if he understands. He understands just fine. That has nothing to do with it. Fudge nodded. Because if you don't stop repeating everything that Peter says, I'm going to do more than just whack your back. Get it? I couldn't help smiling. So they're a lot like brothers. I know if you have brothers or sisters, you fight a lot. I know my daughters fight a lot. So, and Peter's in a really bad mood because he doesn't want to be there. He wants to be back in the city. Okay, let's move on. Mom has this thing that's called a snuggly for carrying Tootsie. She hangs it around her neck and Tootsie fits into it and rides right next to Mom's stomach. I think that's this right here on the front cover. Mom's wearing the little snuggly, like a baby carrier. It looks very comfortable. Sometimes Dad carries Tootsie in it too. Mom says they didn't have them when I was a baby. I missed out on a lot of good things. Every night after supper, we walk into town, stopping at Baskin-Robbins for ice cream. One night, Mom asked me if I would like to wear the sling and carry Tootsie. No thanks, I said. I wouldn't be caught dead wearing a baby around my neck. Oh, Peter, you're so silly. Baskin-Robbins is having a contest. They're looking for names for a new ice cream flavor. So far, I've suggested lemon lunatic, crazy chocolate, and miserable mint. All right, do a little bit more. After almost 2 weeks of hanging around the house, I actually met a kid my age. He lives across the street, but he was at scout camp when we first moved here. His name is Alex Santo, and he's going into 6th grade too. He's very small, with hair that hangs into his eyes, and he's always wearing a t-shirt that says Princeton, class of 1991. By the time I met him, I was so lonely and bored I wouldn't have cared if he had 3 heads, as long as he was my age and wanted to be friends. Alex came over one morning and said, "You want to go into business with me?" "What kind of business?" I asked. "Worms," he told me. "Worms?" I asked. "Yeah, worms," he said again. "Worms," Fudge said, jumping up and down on the front steps. "Wormy, wormy, worms!" Alex looked over at him. "Don't mind him," I said. "He's just my little brother." "Oh," Alex said. "So what do you say?" "Sure," I told him, having no idea what kind of worm business Alex was talking about. "When do I start?" "How about now?" Alex asked. "Okay, what do I do?" "First, we dig them up. Then we sell them to Mrs. Moldor down the street. She pays 5 cents a worm." "What does she do with them?" I asked. "She doesn't say. Some people think she uses them for fishing. Other people think she uses them in her garden. Personally," he stopped and scratched his head. "Go on." "I think she eats them," Alex said. I thought for a minute. "Worm pie?" "Yeah, and worm stew, and worm juice, and worm soup," I said, getting warmed up, "and warm bread." Not warm, sorry, worm bread. Ugh. "Oh yeah, that's the best," Alex said. "Nice soft bread with little worms here and there." "You can make a really tasty worm and cheese sandwich on it," I said. We were doubled over now, laughing our heads off. "And worm ice cream," Fudge said, jumping on top of us. "Worm ice cream," Alex and I said together. I decided that with Alex Santo in my class, Princeton might not be too bad. That afternoon, Alex and I went digging for worms. We rode our bikes over to the lake. It's easy to ride in Princeton because they have bike paths on every street. Alex had a pail and a couple of shovels, and we got to work. Finding worms was no problem. An hour later, we rode back to my house. "Mrs. Moldor likes her worms clean," Alex told me, turning on our hose. "That figures if she uses them for cooking," I said. We left the pail of worms outside and went in for a drink. When we came out, Fudge was standing next to Tootsie's carriage, dangling a worm in front of her. "Ooh." "Cut that out," I yelled, racing over to him. "Why?" "She likes it," Fudge said. "Watch." Alex and I looked into Tootsie's carriage. She laughed every time Fudge held up a worm. "You're right," I said. "She does like it." "Hey, Mom, look at this." "What is it?" Mom called from where she was weeding Millie's vegetables garden. "You've got to see it for yourself," I called back. She came over, wiping her hands on her jeans. "Watch, Mommy," Fudge said, and he took the worm from behind his back and dangled it over Tootsie's carriage. She smiled and gurgled. But Mom screamed, "Get that thing out of here! Hurry up. Get rid of it. Now. It's just a worm, Mommy. Don't you like worms? No, I don't. I really don't like worms at all, and I never want you to show me another one. Do you understand? Fudge put the worm on his arm and let it crawl up to his shoulder. See? Isn't he cute? I'm going to call him Willie. Willie Worm. And he'll be my very own pet. I'm going to sleep with him, and he can eat next to me at the table, and he'll take a bath with me. Fudge! Yes, Mommy? I told you I don't ever want to see that worm again, and you may not bring him into the house, and you may not hold him that close to Tootsie. Do you understand me this time? You really don't like worms? Fudge said. That's right, Mom said. I really don't. Why not? Fudge asked. It's nothing I can explain. Mom went back to weeding the garden. Fudge followed her. Is your family always like that? Alex asked. You haven't seen anything yet, I told him. All right, so we're going to stop there. Just to review, Peter winds up in his new house. He doesn't like it. He hates it. He calls it old. He doesn't like anything about it. But he now met a friend, Alex Santos, and they're going into worm business together. Okay, so things might be looking a little bit better for Peter. And Fudge is still being silly and funny. Okay, so we'll finish this chapter tomorrow. I hope to see you there, and I hope you're all well. Miss you. Hope to see you soon. Stay well.